24 minutes before 7 here on Morning Live on this Thursday morning. Great to have you with us. So thanks to a weak rand and high international fuel prices, South Africans are now facing a 49-cent petrol price hike, while they are still reeling from the sharp fuel increase in April. Now, a litre of 93 and 95 octane unleaded petrol will cost $14.72, and that was from $14.23 in April. Diesel, 0.05% sulphur, and 0.005% sulphur has also risen by 59 cents and 58 cents respectively. Let's talk about what's going on at the moment with South Africans' pockets, because I know it's getting more and more difficult. And we've got with us Professor Jannie from the Wits School of Economics and Business Science to unpack a couple of issues. Good to see you. Thanks very much for coming in, Prof.
Good morning, and good morning to the viewers.
So this is a really tough time for South Africans. I mean, we talk about the VAT increase that we just saw coming in April. We've now got this very big fuel price hike, and I say very big because this was on top of another fuel price hike that happened at the beginning of the month. Tough times for South Africans.
Tough time for South Africans, and as you've said in the intro, with a higher international oil price and a depreciating rand, the fuel price has risen, is now increasing, and will continue to rise if this trend continues. If we have higher international oil prices or further weakening in the rand, we can see further increases in June, and South Africans have to brace themselves for tougher times if this trend continues.
Yeah, I mean, we're also looking at the rand being hammered, obviously on the back of dollar strength. But, you know, this is something that we have to be very, very concerned about, because this is what happens, is that we start seeing, once again, everything getting more and more expensive. Talk to me about the currency.
Yeah, in my view, the rand is not only hammered as a result of dollar strength, but also the announcement of some tariff increases on South African steel and aluminium. And the tariffs on steel and aluminium by the USA might lead to a new trend of similar tariffs on more South African export to the US. And the US is South Africa's second most important export partner after China. So any action by the US government against South Africa will be bad for our exports, and therefore bad for the exchange rate of the rand.
Yeah, I mean, in all reality, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong, we're now at an all-time high of the petrol price.
We're at an all-time high of the petrol price in nominal terms.
Okay.
In real terms, if we adjust for inflation, on occasions the petrol price had been higher, but not much higher.
Yeah. So, and again, on top of this, I keep emphasizing the VAT increase, because that is something that we're living with right now. It's the VAT increase, it's the increase in everything, and yet it's the jobs that are not being fueled. We're not getting any jobs. We're not seeing any creation on this side. I mean, how are South Africans meant to hold and bear the burden of this?
Well, the problem, of course, goes further. We have an unemployment rate of over 27%. And in the last years of the Zuma administration, our economic growth has really not performed well. So the big challenge of the Ramaphosa administration is to get the economy growing at a higher rate. With that, we will see employment increases, and through that, we will see better economic conditions for all. Yeah. But South Africa is still in for a tough ride for a period to come, as the country has to get over the chaos created by the Zuma administration. Yeah. So we might see better times in 2019 or even in 2020. But in the period to 2019 to 2020, we might see more price increases. And of course, with that, the inflation rate might start to increase again, which has serious implications for interest rates.
Also, adding fuel to the fire, if you excuse the pun I'm using here, but electricity prices are expected to go up, and every South African knowing what's been happening at Eskom, and you know, the whole issue of governance at Eskom, which is a big problem, but we as South Africans have to pay for this.
If I can just disagree with you slightly.
Please.
Every South African does not know what's going on at Eskom, because they're doing their best to hide what on earth is going on at Eskom, which is at the heart of the governance issue. Now, for one, in my view, Eskom should immediately stop paying bonuses to anybody in its employ, from its executives to any employee, because they are simply trying to squeeze more money out of South African consumers in an effort to get the money to pay bonuses, etc., and bonus payments are starting to drive their behavior. But we desperately need to know what's going on at Eskom, and this goes further, what is going on at other state-owned enterprises. We've already heard that SAA can't stay in the air without more assistance from the government. Now in SAA, the thing will never fly on its own. The government should simply give it away. There is no reason for the South African government to own an airline, and similarly, it's time for the government to assess which other state-owned enterprises should be given away.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm reading just on the back of what you're saying, the reality that Eskom is 66% overstaffed with a salary average of 700,000 rand per annum. And I mean, this is what you're alluding to.
Indeed, and we will probably see the same at SAA if we do a similar analysis.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen analysis on that, and you know, it's just having a look at comparisons between the rest of the world and the SAA with the amount of staff that they have per aircraft. I mean, we don't own many aircrafts, and that's the reality. So there's got to be big issues.
It will be cheaper to park SAA airplanes on international airports if we want a presence there and not fly them than to try and fly them.
Yeah. Well, let's now move on from those to another issue, which is a big problem, is the bus strike. It's been dragging on for a very long time and leaving thousands of commuters stranded. I think this is going on for about 15 days now. How has this impacted the economy?
Naturally, every strike is bad for an economy because you lose production, you lose output. So the same is true for the bus strike, and in the case of the bus strike, of course, it is at the heart of the economy, namely transport. So workers have difficulty getting to work, getting home. It's impacting on the productivity of people otherwise using buses to commute. And it's really very important to resolve this strike. From what I've seen, I have heard, the employers and the trade unions are not very far from one another in terms of reaching a settlement. There is really a small margin between the demands and the offer. Yeah. But of course you have ardent positions here, and it has now become a matter of honor. Yeah, and it really raises the question, who are acting in the best interests of the workers? Are trade unions trying to make political statements, or are they really acting in the best interest of the workers? And likewise, the employers of bus drivers at this point in time, are they acting in the best interest of their workers?
Yeah. Just finally, Professor, I mean, this has been a bit of a doom and gloom interview just in terms of the economy. Help me out.
You are talking to an economist.
That's what happens. I suppose you're quite right. But is there a light at the end of this tunnel?
Yes, indeed. Okay. There's light at the end of this tunnel. We have a new president who is busy appointing the right people in key positions in our economy to work through the issues, and therefore I'm very excited about prospects for 2019 and beyond, 2020 specifically. Okay. We just have a period of doom and gloom to get to the new dawn of 2019 and 2020.
All right, we'll just have to ride out this year and hope things change for us next year. Professor Jannie Rossouw, head of the Wits School of Economics and Business, talking to us very much so about the effects of these sharp increases that we're being faced with at the moment in South Africa. All right, let's take a break, and we've got more after this. Don't think that the tone's going to get any nicer. We're talking femicide after Sandile Manswe has been found guilty of murder, and we'll find out more after this. Stay tuned.